These ones always.
Hey P, am I not supposed to mention that rash thing you were telling me about? No. Oh shit.
Look. You
I
can
get to edit.
You can mention the rash on my left.
Fuck's sake, my son's at the door. Hold on.
But not the rash on my right. We talked about this beforehand, HODL.
Peter does this all the time. He'll just get up in the middle of a podcast and be like, "I'm gonna go do some things right now. I'll be right back."
Amazing. It was a great accent, by the way.
He's such a terrible podcast host. He'll get up in the middle of his own show all the time.
I had to go to my son. I let my son in the door.
You tell him, Peter. I felt so bad, by the way, that on our text thread, I may have been slightly inebriated, and somebody said I think it was HODL. You were like, "Oh hey, can P join this random event?" And I was like, "Get fucked!" And that was the first thing. That was my first actual interaction with you, Peter, over text.
Was it?
So
I apologize. Don't worry about it. So
sorry. Wait. I just want to be clear. You're apologizing to me for me telling you to get fucked.
No, I'm basically apologizing for half paying attention to that and then planning my notes for this and assuming that I'd done something wrong.
No, you did everything right.
Well, good to have you here, P.
You too, man.
Good to have you here, D.
Yeah, totally.
And good to have you here, H. We're all going by one letter today. Oh shit, I can't be P either.
There's two P's.
So, P, you missed it. We were talking about the bet HODL and I have, bet 2. We had a bet year ago on the US election. I went for Biden, he went for Trump. I won half a Bitcoin. And then we had another bet where over 300K.
What, didn't you lose your private keys on that bet?
Nah, not exactly. Kind of.
He did.
I mean, okay, look, let's not talk about that again.
He only got the money out of the goodness of my heart because I kept my key set,
Exactly.
And then I was able to sign with Phil Geiger.
You need like a little medal.
Well, this second bet, I'm only going to get out of the goodness of your heart because we haven't even set it up. You just owe me.
Wait, for what? This one.
Second bet.
Oh yeah, we were gonna do like a DLC or something, and then we didn't end up. Everyone was too lazy. I think the Sure Bits guys were too lazy too. I think everyone was just too lazy to do it. So this one's on faith.
So what I'm gonna do with the all this money I've won off you over the last 2 years, I'm using it to buy Bedford Football Club. It's true.
I know, and then you'll slowly go bankrupt trying to make it an actual, profitable football club.
Dude, you wait.
So that'll be nice to watch.
I'm
Would you tell me before the 9 promotions?
No promotions to the Premier League. Yeah.
No, you can do that. You only need, what do you need? Like $400 million to make a run at that?
No.
Maybe a billion, even billion. Call it a billion.
50 million.
50 million.
Yeah, 50 million. 2 5Xs in the next 8 seasons. That gives me
the Premier clubs, don't they spend 50 million on one player for one season?
Yeah, but I'm in the Spartan South Midlands Division 1.
I felt extreme jealousy. Had to get myself some sunglasses.
D++, it's leather jackets versus sunglasses.
That's right.
So listen, we should welcome our guest, D++. Lovely to see you. We've hung out a few times in the last year. Got to hang out and meet you, and we've talked about getting you on the show, so welcome. Glad to finally get you on. How are you?
I'm doing good. I got up early for this show, Peter. I'm happy to be here.
You look amazing. You're the most glamorous guest we've ever had, so thank you for coming on. P, nice to see you, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm in the process of moving, so my walls may look Spartan because they are, but I'm super excited to be here.
Amazing to have you. HODL, good to see you again, man. It's been ages. Thought we'd lost you.
Good to see you. Fuck you. I don't want to pay you. I'm not going to eat my dick. You English fuck.
You're going to pay me. I can shoot a gun now, remember?
Not very well. I had to yell. We gave Peter an AR-15, and I had to yell at him while he was shooting it because he was so nervous. He was like this. It was like, and I was like, breathe. And I remembered that we didn't give him basically any instruction before we put this firearm in his hands. And then I was like, okay, I should have given him the lesson on, breathe out while you're pulling the trigger. I didn't do any of that. I was just like, here's a gun. You go use it,
That sounds like a
blow
responsible...
up some tannerite. Was it tannerite? What's it called?
Tannerite.
Blow up that tannerite. Yeah. And 16th shot, I fucking did it.
Yeah, the guy at the gun shop was like, don't you blow up more than 4 pounds of this stuff. And I think we blew up 50 pounds of it at once.
You were like, okay, I understand. Disagree. Disagree.
Yeah.
Disagree. Yeah. Agree to disagree. We're gonna do 10x what you just said.
We had some
No,
fun.
listen,
It was
you
a good
guys
trip.
don't want to go. You don't want to go shooting with Peter because after he hit the
No,
tannerite on his
you're not allowed to tell this.
15th
tell
or
this.
16th shot, he fired the gun straight up in the air, pow, 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 like he was in a fucking Western movie or something. And we were like, Pete, what are you doing? What are you doing? Bullets come back down, Pete. They come. I
You weren't meant
was
to tell
scared
that.
for my life.
That was meant to be
Yeah.
our secret.
Luckily, the Earth, it's got a curve and it rotates, so I don't think we were gonna get hit, but we could have.
Somebody else would, but I'm sure
Somebody else would.
they deserved it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, good to see you all. I don't know whose suggestion. Was this Ben's suggestion or was this your suggestion, Hodl?
Ben's. I
This is
believe.
Ben's suggestion. Right. Well, listen.
Yeah.
P, D, great to have you both on the show. Want to hear all about Plebnet. But before we get into that, I have I've got like some very important business to cover first. So I've been debating it here as well. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh man,
No.
this is a deep question, Peter.
It is.
I would argue that a hot dog is neither a sandwich nor a taco, which is, of course, the only other option. I would argue a hot dog is a stroke of genius created by a madman to give us all something we never knew we always wanted.
I think it's his own category.
Sounds like some fiat food.
Yeah. It's a hot dog.
One of my favorite stories about hot dogs is was it the CEO of Costco who, or one of the founders in a meeting, because Costco has like $1.50 hot dog, and they've had one for years, and somebody suggested that they increase the price, and the person in question responded that they would kill the person if they tried to increase the price.
That's brutal.
No, Peter once told me that he was on a paleocentric diet, and I said, "What the fuck is that?" And he goes, "Oh, I just, it's easy. I only eat foods that are shaped like penises. So sausage, hot dog, popsicles, cucumbers, carrots, stuff like that." And I was like, "That's interesting. Like, has it been working for you?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, man, I've lost like 40 stone or whatever English measurement he gave me. So I'm happy for you, man, and we're all rooting for you. So good job.
You know he's full of shit.
Getting
'cause
healthy.
I've always been a fat
Being
fuck.
fit is very important.
Your hot dogs suck, by the way, compared to ours. UK hot dogs are a lot
Wait,
better.
what? What are you claiming? English hot dog supremacy right now? That's a weird
Yeah.
claim.
No, he's
No,
right.
because we use the right part of the pig.
Which part?
You just use like the offcuts, like the brain and
The trimmings. Yeah,
bollocks
it's all.
and yeah,
Mhm.
it's the fucking gross shit. No, we use the stuff that you actually feed humans.
Yeah, the scrotum.
Fuck off. Oh my god, what a waste of time. We're here to talk about stuff. If you want to learn about Bitcoin, D++, you can bring this back for us. Tell me about Plebnet.
Yeah, totally. So, Peter, you were there. I don't know if you remember the day that I got lightning pilled.
I do.
I got lightning pilled by the god of lightning himself, JC Crown. You were in the room, and I showed you how to use the LNTX bot, which is a custodial wallet for Lightning in Telegram. And me and Jimmy Song and a bunch of folks sent you sats that day. So I don't know if you remember, but it was a magical day. After that, I built
remember
a
the day.
Lightning node. Yeah, it was so fun. I built a Lightning node and I started a group on Telegram for some folks who were doing the same in early May. So Aaron, who runs Darth Node, had this brilliant idea to graph all of our Lightning node connections. And that's really what made Plebnet take off. So the early graph was just me and Rajwinder, who has been instrumental also in Plebnet. He's the one who gave us our name. And since then, we've grown to over 5,000 users and well over 1,100 nodes. And those nodes and their connections now represent a third of all of the liquidity in the entire Lightning network.
Wow.
So we are the fastest growing community in Lightning, and we are taking over the world with love and friendship.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that was the day you got lightning pilled.
You saw it happen. I've been in Bitcoin since 2013, but
Yeah.
like so many folks, I had never used Lightning until this year.
Because I first met you in Clubhouse. I kept seeing you in there talking shit to people in the most polite way possible. And talking a lot about the technical items. So I just assumed like Lightning was something you've been using and part of for a long time. I didn't realize that was the day you got lightning pilled. But I remember the Telegram app.
Yeah, totally. Fiat Joff is a lightning wizard. He created the LNTX bot. That was the day that you and I met. And yeah, I've been in Bitcoin for a long time, but like so many people, I've been on the sidelines of Lightning for whatever reason. And it's really important that people actually use it. So, as you know, I have a running offer that if anyone wants to receive their first Lightning payment, just download Blue Wallet and send me an invoice, and I pay all of them. And it is magical.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty cool how it works, actually. And but that's pretty cool. You got up to 5,000 people already. Are you adminning the group? Is somebody helping you admin the group? How does it work?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, there's a bunch of us. Obviously, P has been instrumental. He created our wiki, which has onboarded so many folks to this group. And there's a bunch of us that run the group.
And
No, no,
we should
no
just put it
thanks
in now.
to. I was going to say no thanks to American HODL, who has not been contributing.
Fuck that guy.
It's no, this is true. I was there on Plebnet started in a clubhouse room that I was in, and they were like, "Huddle, we have this amazing idea, man. We're gonna fucking connect all the nodes and have a community for Lightning. It's gonna be called Plebnet. You want in on this?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, not really. I'm gonna go back to playing Xbox or whatever I was doing before this. Thanks."
So, HODL, it's not too late. It's not too late.
Yeah, I'm gonna admit right now to being a really bad Lightning Bitcoiner. I'm a bad Lightning Bitcoiner. Every time I spin
There's
up a
no such
Lightning
thing.
node, I did Pierre Rochar's node launcher. I did the Casa node. What else I do? I did Zap, Jack Mahler's project before it was Strike, and I just spin up the node and then I go, now what do I do? You know, so that's been my thing every time.
I think that's such a great point, though, right? And I would say there's about 15 to 20 people who really were foundational in the creation of Plebnet. My experience was similar to yours originally, where basically I was like, yeah, like, obviously Bitcoin, it's great. And then I didn't really have a reason to dive in and start playing around with running my own node until, Rajwinder and D++ and, JC were like, hey, like this is so much fun. And I basically was sort of in like FOMO'd into this community around Lightning. And then, I got involved, more and more people got involved. I started like, on Clubhouse and on Twitter, like blasting out like everybody should be in this Plebnet thing. And it was the community that really pulled me in. And so one, HODL, you're not a member of the community yet, and you should be. And
Sure.
two, I think that it's an interesting it kind of brings up an interesting point, which is that having that group of people that you can communicate with, laugh with, send inappropriate memes to constantly until they tell you to stop. They beg you to stop. You won't stop because you can't, and you're doing your own thing. That's really important, and that kind of is one of the things that drove and continues to drive the success of Plebnet, is that we're all these slightly insane individuals who are deeply passionate about this thing and making it fun and interesting and compelling.
B, how do we get people on Plebnet? If they're listening now, where do they go?
They can go there's two different URLs. One is plebnet.org, which is the more acceptable one, and then the other one is kycjelly.com.
Why have you got two?
And yeah, it's a great question. So there is this interesting experience that I had, which is many of us are very privacy focused. We try to have good OPSEC. Whenever people would come into Clubhouse rooms and say, oh, I only have this many Bitcoin, everybody on stage would scream at them and be like, don't say a number, never say a number. And then when we got involved with Lightning, when you run a Lightning node, if it is a public node, right? So many people run Lightning nodes, but they never associate their identity with that node directly. Whereas in Plebnet, as D++ mentioned, we use an app called Cheese Robot, which basically lets you link your node to your identity in Telegram, and then you can see this magical graph that has hundreds and hundreds of nodes, and you can see how everybody is connected. And in doing that, you're basically doxing yourself, or at least you're associating your Telegram identity with your node. And in the Lightning Network, you can see the total liquidity that is available on your Bitcoin, on your Lightning node. And so we called it KYC jelly because we were like, yeah, you got to grease yourself up and give this. It's not actually KYC, but it's like your identity, and you're associating it with how much Bitcoin you have on your Lightning node or how much liquidity you have available. So we thought it was funny to call it KYC jelly because you got to use the lube and then take it in order to join Plebnet.
No, I think it's interesting. I think it's
I'm back.
interesting, P, because like there is that like privacy trade off there, and that's like a little bit anathema to like, I guess early Bitcoin culture or whatever. But then there's also always been this problem of like how do you get people to run nodes? And so like the community focused like node effort is like, I don't know. I think it's something you guys cracked, and it's really interesting to me, like because the growth in the Plebnet nodes is crazy. Like 5,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but this just started like 8 months ago or something, So it's been nuts.
See, I think the node thing's a good point. I want to talk about that because I've never used a Lightning node. I have one in my Umbral. Like I've got like 4 nodes now,
You
but
don't
I've
use a
never.
regular node either, do you?
Not really, no. I
I
mean,
know.
I have and I had, but then but my problem is I use Casa for my storage, and that's like everything's just in there. So I just send straight to that. And I know I should send to a node first and then to Casa, yada yada, but I don't.
I mean, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think, Casa is a great option for securing your entire stack. I view running a Lightning node as being something that you kind of play around with, but I wouldn't advise people to have like a massive amount of liquidity on their personal, on their sort of having fun Lightning node.
But if people aren't running Lightning nodes, then we don't have liquidity, right? So there's like even more of a requirement to have this than maybe running a base chain node.
What I would say is like no one should have uh their like deep HODL stack on their Lightning node, in my opinion, because the Lightning network is very robust, but it's definitely something that that requires your node to be online at all times, and you can't have like a multi-sig Lightning. Each Lightning channel is a multi-sig uh, setup, but you can't basically secure your Bitcoin in the same way that you would want to for your long-term deep storage. So I think of them as totally separate things, and basically the one's Lightning node, one's Umbral should have a much smaller amount of Bitcoin liquidity or Bitcoin on it in order to play around and learn this stuff and support the network.
D, you mentioned Blue Wallet, right? I've used Blue Wallet now for a couple of years, about 3 years. I think it's a great wallet, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to connect that to a Lightning node, or can I? Is it too complicated? Because everything I've ever wanted out of Blue Wallet in terms of Lightning payments works. It just works for me. I don't have failed transactions. I've used it hundreds of times when I've been in El Salvador, and I've never had a single issue. Like, but what am I? If I want to be a good Bitcoiner, like, what should I be doing differently?
Yeah, you just read my mind because I did want to make that distinction that you absolutely do not have to be a Lightning node operator to enjoy Lightning. And custodial wallets such as Wallet of Satoshi and Blue Wallet are going to meet the needs of most people just fine. In fact, I love Blue Wallet myself. Now, I use Blue Wallet as a custodial user, meaning I'm trusting my Satoshis with a custodian. And I also use it as a self sovereign node operator, whereby I have connected my Blue Wallet to my node. So I do both.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of like Pete. Like when I'm gonna use a hot wallet, right? Like I have no problem using Cash App as my hot wallet. And the same thing with Wallet of Satoshi. Like when I'm gonna use Lightning payments, I have no problem doing Lightning payments in a custodial fashion because it's just easy, right? And it's like, I don't know. I guess this makes me a bad Bitcoiner or something, but I will admit to using Wallet of Satoshi frequently when I do Lightning stuff.
I don't think that makes you a bad Bitcoiner.
Yeah, I
If
also
everyone
don't
had
spend
mine,
Bitcoin, right? So it's like I rarely
well, yeah,
spend it.
that's not true. You spend it with me at least once a year.
Zing.
Piece of shit. On chain is good enough for that use case. Okay.
Yeah, we're using smaller amounts in our custodial wallets, and those work just fine. Those are just like money in our pocket. obviously it's not our savings account or our life savings. And I'm a big fan of that.
Well, you say that when I put $400 in my Lightning wallet, my Blue wallet, about I don't know when it was, 2 years ago, wherever, and then at some point, like it went up to like $4,000. And if I'm not spending that, if I'm only say I spend another $1,000 of that over the next 4 years, that could suddenly become $40,000.
Yeah.
I got to that point on the Blue wallet, I was like, "Fuck, I need to withdraw this," and I don't know how to withdraw it.
I can help you with that, Peter. And there's some folks who feel comfortable keeping 4K in their pocket, and there's some folks who feel comfortable keeping 40 bucks in their pocket. Everyone's different.
But probably not $40,000.
Yeah, I don't want to
No
keep
one should have
40,000.
$40,000 in their pocket.
But one of the cool things, it was like a real kind of like a highlighted cool thing about Bitcoin is that like my Lightning wallet is appreciating in value quicker than I can spend it.
Totally. So the way that you swap off chain, which is Lightning, onto on chain, which is the Bitcoin blockchain, it's called a submarine swap. It gets a little complicated, but if you want a little hack, Peter, for something that's really fun, it's
Yep,
what I call a ghetto submarine swap. You can use Jack
that's good for
Mahler's
me.
app Strike.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to make something clear, which is, to what D++ was saying. When people hear about the Lightning Network, right? And just to give a brief overview, and I know you talk about this a lot on what Bitcoin did, but you know, we have layer one Bitcoin. We have on-chain transactions, and the Lightning Network is built on top of the Bitcoin on-chain network, and it basically allows us to send payments essentially instantly for essentially zero fees, and that's huge, right? People, used to love to say like, "Oh, you can't buy a coffee with Bitcoin," which is bullshit. But there will be a time in the future where on-chain fees, which are currently very, very low, increase because you know it's just it's just very likely. And the Lightning Network allows us to use and leverage the incredible security of Bitcoin layer one, which is just straight on chain Bitcoin transactions, but to be able to do it in a way that is, as I said, essentially instantaneous and also very, very low fee. And there are multiple types of Lightning users, right? You can be a person who is sending, Twitter tips via Strike, or paying for your coffee instantaneously, or making small bets with your friends, or, paying a merchant, and all you have to do in order to participate in that is literally go download a wallet like Blue Wallet, or my personal preference is Muun Wallet. That's Muun, which is just has a beautiful UX. But you can basically download one of those wallets and then immediately be interacting with the Lightning Network as a user, and you don't have to understand any of the rest of the stuff we're talking about. Then there's like merchants who are basically interested in selling goods and services using the Lightning Network. And there are, previously you had to be running a service like BTC Pay Server, which is an incredible piece of software. And that's sort of one use case. And then you can be sort of like the totally insane, bleeding edge people like D++ and the rest of Plebnet and I, who are basically like, not only do we want to interact with Lightning, we want to be like down there in the trenches, like we want to lose some money sometimes because we open and close channels too often or whatever it is. And that's super fun for us. I manage my node pretty actively, which is to say I'm going in, I'm sort of balancing the liquidity across my Lightning channels and stuff, and that's fun for me. It's like a real time strategy game. You set fees and all this other stuff, but as a user of the Lightning Network, you do not have to know any of that stuff or even care about it. Uh,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm happy that we're kind of explaining sort of what Lightning is. That's important. Lightning is a layer two payment protocol network that runs on top of Bitcoin. And you may have heard of people say that Bitcoin is old or outdated or slow or
Bull
expensive, which of
McCoin.
course is ridiculous. It's ridiculous because we have Lightning, and Lightning is Bitcoin, and Lightning does millions of transactions per second instantaneously with finality of settlement. They're irreversible, there's no mining, there's no blockchain. And if this sounds like magic, it absolutely is, and it works, and it's rock solid. So it obliterates the use case of every shitcoin in the world, and it actually kind of obliterates the legacy financial rails as well. At the speed of, dare I say, lightning. And P is absolutely right. It's super fun to run your own node and to develop these strategies for routing, but you absolutely do not have to be a Lightning user. We talked about Wallet of Satoshi. We talked about Blue Wallet. Another great Lightning wallet is Breeze, which has a really great point of sale for any merchants who want to get started with Lightning very easily.
See, this is cool. Like, hold on, let me throw this over to you because I've been ragging on the Ethereum crowd a little bit this week for a couple of reasons. My brother dug out an old tweet by Vitalik. He sent me it from 4 years ago. He was saying, whatever, we're half a trillion market cap. That's all good, but how many of the unbanked have we banked now? And he was like, well, you're going to struggle to bank people with the gas fees as they are. And then I saw a article on Vice today about that a DAO they tried to raise. You know, the DAO that they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
buy. Was it the Constitution they wanted to buy?
Yeah.
And like in every basically they lost half of the money they raised in fees because they had to buy this and send it to here to transfer it to this and some bullshit. But like somebody transferred started with $200 and they ended up putting like $75 into the DAO because of the fees. As all these people were like claiming Bitcoin a couple of years ago was too expensive at $50 on-chain fees, which was a very small window where that actually happened. But they're actually full of shit because you can now bank the unbanked with Bitcoin. You can bank them with the Lightning Network. You can have people not only on the base chain but also doing these transactions at close to zero cost. And as D plus said, with instant finality. So I think that's a really good point you've made, D plus. You've completely destroyed the use case of all these shitcoins who've been ragging on Bitcoin for being slow and being boomer coin.
Totally, and they have they have nothing really to grasp at, and so they're trying to come up with new ideas. So if you run out of ideas, Peter, do a DAO.
Do a DAO. Well, so their arguments, like the other people jumping in, are like, yeah, because Ethereum's like slow and bullshit. Now you should be on Solana, which is basically something that's even more centralized than Ethereum and even more bullshit. So it's like,
See,
what is it
I,
in
s-
four,
I
4 years'
say
time? Are we going to get in 4 years' time? Something's going to be even more centralized than Solana. Is it
yes,
just going to be a
yes,
single
Yeah,
Oracle database?
yes.
Yes,
There's, I mean,
that's how they
listen,
fix it.
if the regulators are going to allow DeFi to continue, and it seems like they might, right? There's even talk about Silicon Valley is out there, not real. The A16Z crowd is out there lobbying for their own regulatory agency, right? So if they get that and they allow this DeFi thing to continue, there's no reason to pretend to be decentralized, right? The only reason that they were pretending to be decentralized in the beginning was regulatory arbitrage so that they could get around the laws, right? And if you don't have to get around the laws, well, speed and like most things are better centralized. Most things. It just turns out money is not one of those things. It's better centralized. In fact, it's much worse centralized, right? And so, by the way, there's another quote from Vitalik where he says, the internet of money shouldn't cost 5 cents a transaction. It's ridiculous that Bitcoin costs 5 cents a transaction. What's your average gas fee, Vitalik? $500 fucking dollars or something like that? I mean, come on. Like, are you kidding me? Somebody told me this expression about Vitalik that they think Vitalik is slow rugging, right? Like that he knew it was
I love
bullshit from the
that.
beginning, and he's been slowly rugging the entire time ever since. And I think that's 100% accurate. Like
Well,
that's
you
what is
remember
going
that
on.
thing that I don't know, it was like panel he did with Joe Lubin, where they said, "Yeah, we always knew this wouldn't work. That's why ETH2 matters."
Yeah, exactly. They knew from the beginning. It never made sense. And ETH2 is vaporware. You know what I mean? Something I want to ask about getting back to the Lightning thing though is like, okay, so I'm hearing a lot of people talk about earning yield on their Lightning nodes, right? But the thing that's confusing to me, because that's a really cool, sexy idea that I can stake my Bitcoin, I can have some degree of technical skill, I can route payments, and then I can earn yield on those payments, right? It's even cooler idea when I think I can just outsource it to somebody like D++ or P who knows what the fuck they're doing, and I'll just give them my Bitcoin. They can take an operational fee, and then we can all make money on our Bitcoin in a safe way, a way that's safer than BlockFi, where we're not rehypothecating and et cetera, right? But when I talk to Lightning operators who are doing this kind of thing, it runs the gamut from somebody like an Alex Bosworth, who's making a good deal of money, to somebody who's losing money on their Lightning node. And what I'm curious is why that delta exists, and then how people can be more proficient, like operators, and get the technical skill set to do things correctly. And like, will that professionalize over time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the expectation that people should have if they are, running a Lightning node is that they are not going to make any money in the short term. Um, transaction fees, basically the way it works is like if the four of us have each have lightning nodes, and I have a channel, which is basically a 2 of 2 multi-sig contract with D++. And D++ has a channel with you, HODL, and then HODL, you have a channel with Peter's node, right? Um, and just to be clear, this is not doesn't have to be like a Raspberry Pi 4. You can run what are called neutrino nodes, which are sort of a type of prune node, on your phone today using something like Breeze Wallet, which you can download for iOS or Android. Um, but what happens is the way the Lightning Network works, it's like a spider web. You do not have to have a direct connection to anyone that you're sending payments to. Instead, I can say, I want to send a payment to Peter because I made a bet about, which hot dog was better and he won the bet. And so I basically can bounce a payment through D++'s node, through your node, HODL, and then directly to Peter. And what happens is for that service, each of the nodes in that chain charge a fee essentially, and right now those fees are very low. And the beauty of the Lightning Network, honestly, one of the most compelling things about Bitcoin in general to me is the incentives. I love that the incentives for success as an individual are aligned with the incentives for the success of Bitcoin as a whole and the entire network. And the Lightning Network is kind of a microcosm of that. The same incentives, or very similar incentives, are there. And so right now, fees are low. And so there's a constant competitive fee market that exists on the Lightning Network. And everybody's trying to undercut each other, develop unique strategies, and figure out ways to create value for the network and then get paid for it. But right now, that's very difficult. Bosworth was Alex Bosworth, an incredible engineer. He was one of the earliest Lightning, adopters, and he has a whole, ton of liquidity, a lot of expertise in running a successful Lightning node. But I consider myself lucky if I make like a couple bucks in a month on my Lightning node. There are other people who manage it constantly and they're making, dozens of dollars each month, but no one is making massive amounts of liquidity. I believe like what will happen in the future is probably as on-chain fees go up, the Lightning node will become more competitive. And then each node will be able to charge, I believe, higher routing fees. And that's when there's the potential to make more in routing fees. But certainly right now, nobody should be expecting to make, thousands of dollars.
Can I go back a step? Can I ask you something about Muun Wallet? Because you mentioned that earlier. So I haven't used Muun Wallet, but somebody told me with Muun Wallet whether the wallet doesn't identify whether you're using Lightning or the base chain. It obfuscates that for you as a user. Like I can't get my head around that. Like what the fuck's going on there?
Yeah, it kind of combines your on and off chain balance together into one balance, which I think is nice to abstract away some of those technical details for folks who may not know the difference between Lightning and Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, for someone like me who's more technically advanced, this confused the hell out of me because I didn't understand what was happening under the hood
Mm.
until I kind of delved into some of their old Twitter threads and found that the way that they're facilitating Lightning transfers is using under the hood submarine swaps. So I talked to you actually earlier today, Peter, about what submarine swaps are, their mechanism for switching from on and off chain. So they're doing some kind of interesting chicanery sort of under the hood. But again, you have one balance, and that is simply your Bitcoin balance. It does not separate Bitcoin and Lightning.
So if you want to send with Muun Wallet, can you put in a Lightning or a base chain address and it will know what to do?
Totally.
Because the thing I'm thinking about that is like long term, it's kind of like an ideal scenario that every wallet would do that,
Yep.
and you would just have one single address type, and nobody would know
Mhm.
the difference, and it would just make the decisions for you.
100%.
Oh, yeah. A lot of these technical things are going to be abstracted away for users. Keep in mind, we're so early. We're kind of in like the dial up
Yeah.
modem stage of Bitcoin in terms of the user experience. Now, the technology, the protocols are rock solid and very secure, but the user experience has some catching up to do. And I think things like what Moon Wallet is doing, which is abstracting away some of those technical details, is definitely the future that we're going to see of Bitcoin to bring about mass adoption.
And so if I was using say Moon Wallet and I had if I sent a bunch of Bitcoin there, um, and say I sent a bunch of like Sats from my Lightning wallet, say from my Blue wallet. If I then try to withdraw that to a base chain wallet, does that essentially do is that a different type of ghetto submarine swap that it just does it for me?
Exactly, and I like that you're using my language of ghetto submarine swap. So you can definitely ghetto submarine swap your Lightning Sats in Blue Wallet via Muun.
Good. Well, I live in Bedford, which is pretty ghetto. So
I love it. But yeah, I think that is a really important point, which is that D++ made, which is Bitcoin is focused, like just laser focused on being sound money. Like that is the
Mhm.
purpose of Bitcoin. Security, sound money, decentralization, censorship resistance. And
Fixed monetary policy.
yeah. And these other protocols that people love to throw around that basically are affinity scamming Bitcoin, they are designed to do very, very different things. And they can do those things to varying degrees, but they're not Bitcoin. When we talk about something like, Solana, which is in the news these days, I'm sure it'll be gone in 6 months or a year, just like everything else that falls by the wayside. But like they basically were like, what if we didn't have that? What if instead we made everything worse in the things that we care about? And they were like, and to be fair, it means that you can, make these transactions at lower cost, and you can do all this crazy shit that means that you can get hacked more easily. But and all it costs is a $250,000 data center to run a single node. If you're willing to centralize your shit that much, then Godspeed. But Bitcoin is designed to be this thing that anyone can run a node with $100 or less of hardware, and the Lightning Network builds on top of that. So it's a totally different thing.
And let me ask
D++.
this, Pete. There was a lot. Oh, real quick, there was a lot of talk like early on about and I think this was to combat a lot of the FUD in 2017 with the fee market. And I think if you look at the fee market in 17 and the fee market now, like it seems clear to me that we were under attack in 17, and a lot of
Mhm.
those transactions were spam basically by the Bcash crowd. Like Roger will stop at no, like he speculative attack Bitcoin, yada yada. So like I'm gonna take that as an assumption that's true. Um, I think when you look at it now, as it like where we're at now, I'm starting to feel the FUD coming around fees, and like there's going to be like essentially this crowd that's like the fee market's not going to develop, and we need to do an inflationary hard fork to Bitcoin and yada yada yada, right? And I think like Lightning is part of that narrative, but also there was this thing about Lightning in the beginning that Lightning was supposed to be like a consumer thing, and to me it seems more like it's going to be like an enterprise level layer. I don't know. Like, where do you think like things are headed, and like how could that like FUD war play out with the fee market, and like Lightning's gonna eat all the fees and all that kind of bullshit that you're now like starting to hear from people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that I am personally not worried about it at all. I think that right now a lot of major exchanges use Lightning because it's incredibly effective for, again, transmitting this value securely and with finality very rapidly. So exchanges that use Lightning have these massive 5 Bitcoin channels. They have multiple channels that they're just blasting value back and forth with, and uh, that works great for them. But on-chain transactions are useful when one is doesn't want to have to be online in order to receive payments, and when one wants the maximum security that is available. And so I think there will always be a place for both types of transactions. And I think that that there are many systems and services that require being able to interact with or write to or read from uh, the Bitcoin blockchain specifically. So I don't see it being an issue. I think that there are going to be more and more systems that build on top of the Lightning Network in the same way that the internet was built on top of TCP/IP. And I'm a software engineer. I barely know what the fuck TCP/IP is. I don't need to. Everything that I interact with when I'm building software is at a much higher level. And I think that as we go forward, and we're already starting to see this, these services like Sphinx Chat and Zion and all these other systems and Breeze, right, with podcasting 2.0, that empower people to use these kind of novel and really interesting ways of interacting with the Lightning Network, but you don't even necessarily have to know that you are. So I think there will always be a place for that, and there will always be a place for on-chain Bitcoin transactions.
Yeah, and
D, can
HODL,
we
I
talk a
think
little
you
bit
bring
more
up a
about?
really
Oh,
good.
go.
Oh, I was going to say, HODL brings up a really good point when it comes to fee FUD. It's like, which one is it, HODL? The fee FUD sometimes is the fees are too high, and the fee FUD sometimes is that they're too low, right? So it's like pick one. But in terms of the FUD that the fees are going to be too low, there's actually a paradox in economics called Jevons paradox. And this describes the technological progress by which something becomes more efficient. And this efficiency actually drives the consumption of that resource. So, in other words, just because we are making fees more efficient by taking them off chain, it means that there's more incentive to do the on chain transactions to open and close those lightning channels. So, what this means is we're not going to see fees just go away. We're going to see them continue to increase as people use lightning.
You could do that meme HODL. You could do that. You know that guy with the two buttons. Fees are
That's
too
what I was
high.
thinking.
There's not enough fees.
Well, yeah, yeah, no, I think D's point is correct. I mean, the fee market is dynamic and it's meant to be dynamic. And so,
Mm.
it depends on where you sit and how you look at it. And yeah, I'm sure we're people, the ETH guys are gonna be like, well, you guys were just talking shit about the gas fees. What the fuck, man? Like that just proves that Ethereum is working, Like look how many people want to use Ethereum, right? And it's like, yeah, but bro, all that volume is fucking fake. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I've just had it. The problem I've got is the fucking confusion around it. Like, so I've been, like, say, ragging on these people on Twitter about what happened with the DAO, and then some dude said to me, he was like, what did he say to me? It was like, but Bitcoin still takes like 10 minutes, and I was like, no, not if you use the Lightning Network. Let's see what this fucker says. Okay, so I put Bitcoin doesn't take 10 minutes on Lightning. It's faster and cheaper than ETH. And then I go to all these replies. Try comparing Lightning to ETH L2. Both Lightning and Arbitrum Optimism are L2s. And you should fairly make your comparison. And I'm like, the problem I have with these L2s, and then somebody's talking about Polygon as well. It just seems like there's so many different L2 options in Ethereum. I'm just like confused beyond belief. I think for a lot of people, Bitcoin to Lightning is actually a massive leap. Like just alone, that's a massive leap. We all take it for granted because we've been in Bitcoin for a while, but that's still a big leap. To when you explain Bitcoin to somebody for the first time, and then you explain Lightning, it is a big leap. And then if you look at all these Ethereum side chains and L2s and bullshit, I'm lost. I'm lost even
Yeah,
knowing where to start.
it's super confusing. And one thing that I will say is that as you talk about a lot on your show, on this show, is that Bitcoin moves slowly, or more slowly than some people feel is reasonable, because we are all incredibly laser focused on making sure that we're doing it right. And things like Ethereum and all the other bullshit, they are not focused on doing it right. They're focused on getting VC money and creating systems that allow the founders of those tokens to extract Bitcoin from people and put it into their own wallets. And that's really what their goal is. I'm painting with a broad brush,
No, but
but
it's a fair shout. It's a little bit like I was listening to the Bitcoin Standard for like the fifth time today, driving back from London, and one of the chapters where he's talking about how the governments wanted to hold gold, and they stole the gold, and they made it illegal to hold gold. They wanted you to have the fiat currency, but they wanted your gold, and they kept the gold in the central banks. It's a little bit like these shit coins. They want you to use their shit coins, but they want to extract the Bitcoin from it. Like the was it Block One with EOS when they raised like 4 billion, and they've got like over 100,000 Bitcoin now. Like it's exactly the same.
140.
It's the exact same play as the banks. They want you to use their shit fiat, and they want to hold the gold.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this year has been like everyone is trading shitcoins, like fucking everyone. So like, some of the more vitriolic maximalist rhetoric that works for me in the bear market has not been working this year. So I've defaulted to being like, listen, you're already trading shitcoins. You need to understand the game. Here's the game. This is what smart traders know that you don't know because you're confused. The game is essentially to get your Bitcoin and move it into their pocket. And if like they don't believe the marketing narratives that they're selling you. But if you believe that Solana is the future or whatever, you're going to be the one who ends up holding the bag to zero. You become their exit liquidity, right? And so it's a game of hot potato, and you need to understand that information asymmetry that's going on. And people go like this, they go, So Solana's the future, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but that's
But
the
HODL,
problem this year,
that's
HODL. Like I was going to say, D, that's the problem this year because, like in 2017, one of the things is that Bitcoin was people's kind of like gateway drug to all of this, and even if they were trading shitcoins, they were usually trading it with Bitcoin, and the majority of the exchanges were the unit of account was Bitcoin. But we've leapfrogged that now. We've got a lot of exchanges out there that are ETH unit of account. You don't even need Bitcoin. So I think this year people have just skipped Bitcoin. They've gone straight to shitcoins.
Yeah, I was going to say, HODL, that's a really great point that the shitcoins have a very clever consensus algorithm, if you will. And their consensus mechanism is proof of transfer, right? Transfer
Yeah,
of your
that's true.
Bitcoin to them.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's also like, Bitcoin's, like P was alluding to, Bitcoin's engineering culture is like equivalent to, I don't know, something like NASA, where it's like if we fuck up one piece of this thing, the whole fucking shuttle is going to explode and we're going to kill everybody on board, right? Whereas shitcoin culture is like move
No,
fast and break
did
things,
you say Bitcoin is like NASA, or did you say Ethereum is like NASA?
Bitcoin's engineering culture is like NASA.
I think you
It's
said
like
it. I think you
higher
said
level.
Ethereum.
I don't think I did I?
No, I think
Did I mishear that?
I think you
What's that?
misheard.
Sorry, I apologize. What the fuck?
But yeah, that's the point. Is Bitcoin's engineering culture? It's about security. It's about thinking
Yeah.
adversarially. It's about planning for things that could go wrong. Whereas Ethereum's culture is like, I don't know. Why don't we just do all the shit that Bitcoin didn't do that they decided wouldn't work, and we'll take their garbage pile of discarded ideas and we'll combine it to be Ethereums, and we'll sell them to peoples, and then the peoples will give us their Bitcoins. That's how shitcoins work.
That's a direct quote, by the way, from Vitalik.
Yeah, I think Vitalik said that once on stage. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like one thing for me is like I think people should be able to do whatever they want with their money, right? Like if people want to like fuck around and like, take risks, like honestly, like a lot of people, myself included, invest in equities, and it's like I'm free to do that, and I think everybody should be.
Lame.
There you go. I mean,
P's
when
got
I
a
say
Solana
invest,
bag. P's got a Solana bag.
fuck that
Shit's
noise.
weak.
Fuck that noise. No, but what I'm saying is like people should do whatever they want. But it's I have this like they have to understand what they're actually doing. They have to understand that like if they're buying some dumbass like shitcoin that like the other people involved, they got it at a fucking pre-mine or they got it at an insanely discounted price, and it is not a fair market, and you are going to get fucked. That's just the reality. And it's like if people want to play that game, people love going to the casino. Like, we kind of like when you go to the casino and you lose money, people are like, oh, it's too bad. That's what we're dealing with.
The VCs who were in on Solana were in on Solana at 4 cents before it was available to the public. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that's the game you're playing. It's totally rigged.
I want your view on this, HODL, because this is the thing that's been pissing me off with the whole Chris Dixon, A16Z, Web3 thing they're talking about now. Where they've
fuck Chris Dixon.
So they've essentially
Fuck that
co-opted Web3 narrative to say it's all about tokens. Everything's been decentralized and everything will be based on a token. Now, I had an agency during like transition from Web 1 to Web 2, and really with Web 2, you realize what it was after it happened. It kind of like, oh shit, the internet's changed. It's like the semantic, like it's I can't remember what it was. It was more like the interactive pages you had. So if you did a search, it would come down with a bar, like suggested items, like things like that started to change. But they're trying to define Web 3 about what they want to invest money in. And this kind of like internet of tokens as a Web3 narrative is fucking bullshit. And they're trying to actually like direct the internet in a way that they want to invest in, but it's fucking bullshit.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think like there's some things there that are true, right? Like decentralization is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, decentralization is probably the point of Web3 because we've all seen, when we have these centralized oligarchies that, like, for instance, our free speech gets taken away, and that's not a good thing, and people would like to see that revert, right? But the idea that everything's going to have a token is fucking stupid. It's always been fucking stupid. Why the fuck would you invest in utility tokens? They're not investable. Listen, I'm definitely going to take my daughter to Chuck E. Cheese in a few weeks, and we're going to have a lot of fun, buy $60 worth of tokens, but I'm not going to put my fucking net worth in Chuck E. Cheese tokens because they have quote-unquote utility at Chuck E. Cheese. Why would anyone do that? People don't store their net worth in airline miles. People don't store their net worth in any kind of rewards points. It's a stupid fucking idea. They will not maintain liquidity. Like, Chris Dixon and Balaji and all the guys from A16Z have just fully lost the plot because they have fucking insider access. They are the guys who were getting Solana at 4 cents, and it's corrupted their brains. And now they want to tell you that this is a real thing when they know it's fucking not. And, it's like the phrase they used to use, short time to liquidity. Like, they are looking to dump this on retail investors as fast as fucking possible and then scoop the money back in for themselves and likely put it into Bitcoin, right? Or maybe Ethereum if they still believe in Ethereum. But like, it's just insider bullshit. It's Cantillon bullshit. Like, that's what it is. And it's fucking annoying because people still give these people authority and credibility and credentials, and like, they don't deserve any of that. They're wrong. They've been wrong. Fuck them.
Yeah, well, they think they're right. D, can we talk a little bit more about nodes? I want to go back to that. So, one of the things we always say to new Bitcoiners is like, hold your private keys and then run a node. We try and take them on that journey, like learn about Bitcoin, buy some Bitcoin, maybe get a hardware wallet, back up your private keys, understand what they are, and then like usually after that, it's like run a node. And people kind of drop off at different points. Some people will just go on Coinbase or Gemini and they'll buy their Bitcoin and leave it there. Some people will get themselves maybe a ledger or a cold card and move to that. And then some people will go as far as a node, but we lose people all the way. But that node thing is a super important thing. Is it as important to run a Lightning node as it is to run a base chain node, or is it not?
Totally. So it's different use cases. So the reason why folks would run a Bitcoin node is to have self sovereignty over their transactions and be able to fully validate their own transactions and verify that what they are sending is in fact Bitcoin. And they're not having to trust anyone else to tell them that what they're doing is in fact Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin were under attack, it would be important for us to run our own nodes to help enforce the rules of Bitcoin. It becomes even more important in kind of an adversarial situation. And there's other reasons to run a node as well. If you can run a node over Tor, you can have greater privacy and you can prevent folks from knowing things about the transactions that you're interested in. You can prevent people from knowing things such as your XPubs, which are important for maintaining your privacy. Now, running a Lightning node is
What's an
something.
XPub?
An XPub is an extended public key. And by the way, Peter, I did an entire workshop on XPubs at TabConf, and it was
I still don't get them.
extraordinarily deep. So an XPub is a public key from which you can derive child keys. So you know how we have different receive addresses whenever we receive Bitcoin to help maintain privacy. The XPub is the key that unlocks all of those baby receive addresses. It's like the dad. So anyway, the reason why we would run a Lightning node is to be able to route transactions on this Lightning mesh network. Now, if you're running a Lightning node by default, you are also running a Bitcoin node. You have to have a Bitcoin node as well. With Lightning, you keep this thing on 24/7 because you are supporting the Lightning network, again, by routing people's payments on their behalf. And the first time you wake up and you see that your node routed someone else's Lightning payment on their behalf, the feeling is indescribable. It's like a kid waking up and seeing that Santa Claus left presents under the Christmas tree. It is just the most magical feeling in the world. Now, that said, if you have a Lightning node, you're going to keep it on all the time. It's important to have at least 99.9% uptime. You never want to take it offline. This is a hot wallet that you are using, again, to support the routing of Lightning payments. Now, if you're simply running a Bitcoin node to validate your own transactions, you don't have to keep it turned on all the time. You can turn it off at night, and whenever you want to use Bitcoin, you can simply just resync the blocks that came in while you were asleep.
All right, listen, can we talk a little bit about scaling Bitcoin in a different way? I did an interview the other day with Anita Posh, and she was talking about mini mint and the opportunity to use that out in different communities out in Africa. She spends a lot of time out there supporting different communities. At the time, I didn't have any time to like dig into it and find out what it is. Can you explain what this is to me? Because it sounded cool.
I think you're talking about federated Chaumian mints,
Yeah.
which are a super interesting direction that I think they're not they don't have to be on Lightning. It's actually an existing concept, but on Lightning it gets really, really interesting. So it basically allows you to split trust over multiple parties, and you then can basically, and it uses what's called blind signatures, which is something that is kind of well established and understood in cryptography. So it creates a lot more privacy within the Lightning Network, and it's kind of like there was an analogy that was given to me recently, which I really like, which is something I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of a blind signature is where you can put. I'm not going to try to do it, but basically, it allows us to massively increase privacy by having a federation of entities that you trust, which can be individuals in your community, and then they basically allow you to, without understanding how much you're transmitting or who you are as an individual, you're able to transmit value through the network, and it kind of unlocks some really interesting opportunities specifically on Lightning.
So what about the future Lightning? What else is coming? What should we be aware of?
Well, one thing that I think is interesting is the question of like, yeah, where do we go with Lightning adoption?
Mm.
And the sort of at different ends of the spectrum, you can have like community-based Lightning networks, right? So one of the things with Plebnet is we all kind of got together, we created this giant crazy spider web of connections, and then we plugged into the larger network and added all this liquidity in, right? Which then benefits everybody because again, you're bouncing payments all the way through the network, uh, you know, to get your payments to wherever they need to go. Um, I think that that is a really compelling aspect of the Lightning Network. I can imagine small, communities that are digital, like Plebnet, or communities that are physical, towns, districts, areas that are building out these communities. But we also have like entire countries like El Salvador adopting Lightning and using the Lightning Network a uh, as a way to transmit value. And so I think that there will be both things happening. That is to say, I think there will be additional communities that get together who already trust each other. They spin up their nodes. They're using the Lightning Network to basically send value back and forth rapidly. And then also you have businesses that are aping into the Lightning Network because it does provide this profound value, and even nation states, as we're seeing in El Salvador. And so I think that honestly, I think there will continue to be both. And I think as more
If
and
you
more,
if you build like a Bitcoin city, as part of that, you could be planning the nodes that exist within each property. And once that city comes online, that whole city can plug into the Lightning Network and create this whole additional amount of liquidity.
yeah, and people
Yeah,
can
I don't.
join that network running their own node. Go ahead, dude.
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't think everyone really fully realizes how solid the Lightning Network is because if it weren't for Lightning, we wouldn't have Bitcoin as legal tender in El Salvador. Lightning is what makes that possible. So, Lightning is rock solid. It's not some kind of vaporware, some kind of promise of some technology that may or may not come to fruition. It works today. So, what I'm excited about mostly is simply onboarding new people and showing them this technology that already exists as it exists today. Now, will it continue to evolve and grow? Yes, of course. The next soft fork that I'm expecting to see after Taproot is likely going to be, in my opinion, probably SigHash and ePrev out. And this will allow the ability to make additional improvements to the Lightning Network, such as L2, which will improve some Lightning channel capabilities. But again, even if Bitcoin were to ossify today, this technology is rock solid. And so, aside from any upgrades, what I am most excited about is simply just onboarding folks, showing them this magical technology that exists, onboarding them to Plebnet and getting them to use Lightning for the first time, and quite frankly, just blowing their minds.
Steve, what do you think of the progress that's been made in El Salvador?
Well, I have extraordinarily FOMO because I have not been, and I'm really sad. Do you guys want to plan a trip? Can we go back? Take me back.
I'll go anytime. I'll happily go again.
I'm ready to go, but I think it's absolutely extraordinary. So a lot of us thought that this cycle in Bitcoin's history was going to be sort of the cycle of institutional adoption. And we did see some, really, really big institutions such as Tesla and MicroStrategy put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. But we took kind of a quantum leap from institutions to countries when we saw El Salvador adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. And I don't think any of us were anticipating that. And I mean, how many of you guys cried at Bitcoin Miami 2021 when Jock Maulers was telling us about El Salvador? Was there a dry eye in the audience? I think not. And Jack Maulers, made crying cool again. which I think is really beautiful, right? It's so human, and it's just so overwhelming to see the power that is Bitcoin. So it's going to be really, really fun to see the nation states that continue to adopt Bitcoin after El Salvador and watch this game theory really play out, whereby they start competing to attract us, the Bitcoiners. And we saw just the beginning of this with the announcement of the Bitcoin city in El Salvador. And by the way, I for one am like fully ready to move there.
And P, we got the president coming to Bitcoin 2022. The announcement's
Hell
out.
yeah.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I think, to answer your question, I think, there's experiences that people have had with the Chivo wallet. There's there's some issues there, some challenges, and from what I understand, some of those things are totally valid. They're things that need to be fixed there, but um, we're getting there, and I think that there needs to be more education in El Salvador around exactly what the Lightning Network is, what Bitcoin is, how to use it. But to see an entire country adopting Bitcoin it's one of the most exciting things that I can remember happening in recent years, and certainly, of course, related to Bitcoin. And I am personally extremely excited. I was able to book uh, President Bukele, and there are other heads of state that we're in conversation with, and it just creates this, as we all know, this incredible uh, incentive for other very large entities to ape in, right? Because if as you start to see the power that this brings to El Salvador and the people of El Salvador, other world leaders are like, oh fuck, like they don't even have to know exactly what's going on. They're just like, I have to be part of this. I have to. The
Yeah.
risk is too great to not jumping in, and that's the thing that is so compelling, or that's so exciting to me about what's going on in El Salvador. And this is only the beginning. We're going to see more and more people jump in and start putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet as nation states, and then supporting the Lightning Network. And in
But
terms of go ahead.
so it's what I was going to throw in there is like one of the things that makes me happy about maybe not having this crazy end to the cycle, and is that I think it's going to be counterproductive to wanting to onboard more countries, because you see the run up, you see the drop down, you see all the bad press that goes with it. But if we just had this just like gradual, steady increase in Bitcoin, maybe we go up 20% in a month and down 10%. Like if we can keep within that kind of range, I think it makes it easier to onboard other countries. And one country is great, but it's an outlier. Two is a movement, and we need that second country.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Bedford.
Bedford's not a country. It should be.
No, it could be the first Bitcoin country.
Well, it's the Bitcoin capital of the world.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you sound kind of like Bitcoin Tina a little bit with this thesis of kind of a stair step super cycle where we just kind of go up forever, Laura. And, that could happen. Or we could see
I think
another
it's more healthy.
85. Yeah, of course. We could see another 85% blow off top. It's impossible to say. But P, with all due respect, I'm very impressed that you're going to have the president of El Salvador at Bitcoin Magazine Conference 2022. But I think I'm just mostly excited for the beach parties and the dance parties. And Peter, you threw a pretty epic dance party this year. I hope you do it
Yeah, but I
again
can't.
next year.
I'll throw a party. I can't. I won't dance. I can't dance. I'll see if I can get the president to come.
Yeah,
That would be interesting.
for sure.
But yeah, I won't be dancing because of my back. I would just stand at the side and just watch it.
I mean, you mentioned the conference, and I think it's one thing that I have been thinking about a lot lately, because I am responsible for building out all the programming and the strategy around that. And there will always be speakers. I'm not talking about President Bukele, but there are other speakers that we've announced recently that people have been like, oh, why is this person speaking? Like, like what the hell? And the reality is, I want to create conversations between everybody. Obviously, everybody that's at the conference is interacting with and supporting Bitcoin, but
Hmm.
it's not as valuable to basically have conversations where everybody is just high-fiving and slapping each other on the back and like, yeah, Bitcoin is great.
Hmm.
Like, we're fucking Bitcoiners. High five. End of story. I
We rule.
yeah, I want to have conversations between people who are supporting Bitcoin, working on Bitcoin, driving Bitcoin forward, but actually disagree on really important pieces of what that means. And it's only through those dialogues, those active conversations where people are respectfully fighting that we can further the important topics, and most importantly, we can selfishly educate ourselves, right? Because everybody's an expert in a specific area of Bitcoin. But we can also help to educate the average person, right? Because the people that are coming to Bitcoin 2022, it's a huge, broad spectrum of people. It's people like all of us on this call who are deeply in Bitcoin, understand certain aspects of it, and contribute to the ecosystem in different ways. And there's also people who are literally like, "What is a Bitcoin?" And for everyone on either side of that spectrum or anywhere on that spectrum, observing people who are extremely intelligent having disagreements about the nuances of these topics is one of the most effective ways that we can all learn. And you know, I'm just really focused on that and creating those uh, exciting, hilarious, important, engaging fights on stage.
Well, listen, it's going to be a huge event. It might be the biggest one ever.
Yes,
It might be that Bitcoin goes boring after this.
yeah, it is. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin event in history. There are the largest stage last year it was 4,000 people. There are 5 stages this year. There's the main stage, which is 15,000 people. There is the Genesis stage, which is 10,000 people. There's an entire stage on mining. There's an entire stage on the open source community, which if you just separated that out on its own, it would be the largest open source conference in history. It's a 2,000 person stage. There's going to be an institutional finance stage. It's going to be absolutely incredible. There's going to be electricity, fireballs, everything. It's going to be like Bitcoin Disneyland.
Amazing. I can't fucking wait. All right. Well, listen, we've covered a lot today. Anything we've not covered, HODL, you want to cover?
No, not really.
D, anything else you want to say before we exit?
I feel like we did it.
We did it. We crushed it. You know, I'm going back to doing most of my interviews in person now. So trying to get to like 95% in person. So what we should do is we'll all be in Miami for a week. We should try and do one where we're all together. I'll have my whole team there, camera crew, equipment. We should try and do one together. I
Absolutely.
think that'll be awesome.
Let's do it.
I don't like these remote
love it.
ones.
Yeah, I'm in.
Well, listen, it's great to have you on. D, look, tell everyone how to follow you, how to find you.
Yeah, totally. So you can find me on Twitter, D++. D++.me is my URL. D++ on Instagram. And most importantly, be sure to join Plebnet at plebnet.org.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. And P, how do people find you?
Yeah, my incredibly robust OPSEC. No one knows that my real name is Philip, which is also my my Twitter handle. But you just replace the J's or the I's with J's, so it's on Twitter PHJLLJP.
All right. Well, we'll put it on the show notes. HODL, go fuck yourself. Give me a
Mhm.
Bitcoin. Looking forward to it, man.
Listen, the parabola is coming, bro. Okay, December's gonna be lit. I'm not gonna be sending any fucking Bitcoin to Bedford. God no.
You are.
The parabola's
You're buying me
coming,
Bedford FC.
and we're going. What do I need? I just need a 5x. I need a 5x in 1 month, baby. Bitcoin can do that.
100%.
I've seen Bitcoin do miracles. Okay, that's
Yeah.
like standard operating procedure for Bitcoin.
Not a lot of people know this,
Yeah.
but I actually had lupus before Bitcoin, and I rubbed Bitcoin all over my body once a day, and it cured my lupus. And it'll cure yours too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in 2017 HODL, we saw that 5x from November to December. So I
See?
wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be
See?
surprised.
What's up, Pete? What's up?
Dude, I'll take 288. 288 was the target I was happy with.
No, we're going.
Anyway, I'm going to take your Bitcoin.
300.
I'm
300.
taking your Bitcoin. I'm buying Bedford FC, and I'm going to thank you for it, man.
I know it's very sad.
Anyway, listen, love you all. Thank you all for coming on. I will see you all soon. I don't know where I'll bump into you next, D. I keep bumping into you everywhere, so I'm sure I'll see you soon. Otherwise, I will see you all in Miami. Thanks for coming on. Peace out. Good luck with Plebnet.
Adios.
Peace out.